So, welcome to Appalachia Works at BitSource. We are so excited about this opportunity to talk about things in Appalachia that are working well. And I would like you to introduce yourself, if you would, please.
Absolutely. Eric Worth. I am the director of the Research and Entrepreneurship Incubator, which is both a building that we're constructing south of town, as well as a lot of other umbrellas that are kind of under the research, but some of them are very sciencey and some of them are not, but all deal with both research and entrepreneurship in some way. So we really want to bridge that research to kind of translating that into business growth and entrepreneurship in our region.
It's kind of interesting because the purpose of this podcast is to uncover things about Appalachia that are going on that are really good in our region that most people don't know. Like, everybody knows about U-Pike. You got a big footprint and people are aware of U-Pike, but they probably have no idea about this initiative. So can you explain it for me? Talk to me like I'm 5 and just explain to me exactly what the initiative is and what you're going to do.
Sure. So this started a handful of years ago, probably in the 5-year or more range, as we started recognizing that, in Kentucky and in our region, we have a lot more growth in high-tech agriculture. We have greenhouses throughout the state. We have a lot more happening even in hydroponic systems and aquaponic systems. So as those things grow, the real intent was that we build a complete environment that helps that industry thrive, similar to what they have over in the Netherlands, which is public and private and governmental partnerships that help as 3 legs of a stool to push the industry forward and make it more efficient, more effective, allow growth and thriving of that industry. And so we were able to apply for some grants and to receive some grants to construct a building that would be a center for that research in Central Appalachia. So we received funds from Economic Development Agency or administration, as well as the Appalachian Regional Commission, to start construction of this research hub. And with that, we were also able to get funding from the Kentucky Grant Program to make this a completely funded phase 1 project. We're sitting at about $10 million in funding right now. We were also able to get a donation from a couple local doctors, Rakesh and Seema Sachdeva, that allowed us to construct a building just south of town on what was a former, I think it was maybe a large truck repair area. So, several years ago, when we had those funds and we were looking at, we need a center, a place where we can really do this, bringing research and entrepreneurs together to make this thrive. We looked at the building that was existing up there. We had hoped at one point that we could actually maybe reuse the structure. But as we engaged our architects who are Champlin EOP, it became clear that it would probably be better and more effective and more cost effective if we just were to take down what was existing there and start from scratch. So that began. We have our contractors, our constructionists has started up there. That's with Elliott Construction. And so right now, if somebody drives past that, it's kind of just across from where Fazoli's or the Advanced Auto Parts are, south of town. You see the construction equipment up there. Most of the underground has already been completed. We're pouring foundations, and pretty soon it'll be a lot more visible because we'll start seeing things come up above ground.
And are you looking at, is it spring of next year for completion?
Spring of 2027.
Okay.
Construction. The building is sitting right around 12 or 13,000 square foot. It'll have some space for collaboration and classrooms or presentations. It'll have an actual laboratory in there so the research part can be done. It'll have places where we can grow plants. It'll have a research greenhouse. It'll have some incubation bays where we can actually incubate businesses. So in phase 1, we'll have that entire piece completed. And then phase 2, we can actually expand the laboratory. We can build 8 more units of greenhouse up on the facility. and we can add one more bay for additional businesses.
So that's great with this. I mean, it's just wonderful that you could get the funding to build a building like this.
Yes.
But you're already doing a lot of this work now without the building.
We are.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so there's a number of things that are being done, and again, when the building's done, it'll help advance what we're doing. It'll provide a place for everybody to come together. It will be greatly allow us to be more effective in what we're doing and do more. But right now we have things going on, multiple labs across campus, facilities the institution owns close to campus. So we're starting those projects. A lot of them are dealing with one of two avenues right now. One of those is fungi and all the different medicinal and gourmet properties of mushrooms. So growing mushrooms in underutilized or unused infrastructure such as mines or tunnels or buildings, places where they could be grown that nothing's really happening right now. There's a great market for both medicinal and gourmet mushrooms. That we've done some work with a USDA grant that's allowed us to look at growing those in mines, in old mine structures. That's been going very well. We also have work being done on truffles and growing. We have kind of the largest research truffle orchard west or east of the Mississippi.
I didn't know truffles came in orchards.
They do actually grow on the roots of trees.
Okay,
So
that's
we were able
interesting.
to-
Thought you had to have a pig to go out in the in the forest to find the truffles.
A pig or a dog is helpful. You don't know where they are. They are native to our area, and the ones that we're looking at growing are native to our areas. But we just don't know enough about how they grow and to really help the people who are doing it as an industry know how to be most effective.
Okay.
So long process. It can take years for them to develop and grow. So there's a great amount of time invested in doing it without necessarily knowing how it's going to turn out. So the more we know and we can tell the people who are growing them in our area, the better. So yes, you can find them, but you can plant them as well. You can plant trees that have the fungi already on the roots.
I just thought you could only find them, by magic, by the dogs or the pigs. So that's interesting. You can actually farm them.
You can.
That's fascinating.
Now, when we have them at the end, we are collaborating with a business owner in Western Kentucky who has a specialty trained dog. Went to France and got trained on how to find the truffles and is very good at it. So even when we do have an orchard and we know there should be some there, we'll still use and hopefully collaborate with them, have them bring their dog over and help us identify where the truffles are and where they're not.
Boy, I hope you'll let me know when that happens because I'm going to want to send a videographer
It'll be fantastic.
to get some of that footage. That's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, we had them over, I think, last fall. They did a class with us and took some students out, so it was fun.
That does sound like fun. So I'm hearing where the entrepreneurship part of what you're doing comes in because these are all incubatable, if that's a word, business ideas, right?
Absolutely. Yes, from the gourmet mushrooms, just growing them. I mean, some of those will go for $40, $50, $60 a pound fresh on the market. And so it's a place where we're really one of the few from an institutional perspective who's trying to incubate businesses like that in our area. In Pennsylvania, they have a great mushroom hub around like white button mushrooms in the Kenneth Square area. That's been for generations there, but they focus mostly on that particular kind of mushroom. So all the gourmet mushrooms, all the medicinal mushrooms, there's really a great market. We know that some people have grown them in the area. They sell out very quickly when they go to farmers markets or other places. It's a really amazing way for somebody to come in and start small businesses. And really we envision this hub kind of mentality where the university working with a couple of core entrepreneurs kind of start the logistics. They figure out all the pieces that it takes to run this business successfully in our area. And, we can take fresh mushrooms, we can put them on a truck and they can be in Chicago or Atlanta or Washington, D.C. within a day.
Yeah.
And so we live in a great area. It's perfect. Some of the conditions we've been looking at are perfect for growing certain kinds of mushrooms. And so somebody could come in and create the media that they grow on and provide that to the farmers who are growing it. And the farmers could could do that. But then along with it, you have the people who need to ship them and truck them from place to place. You have the people who dispose of the blocks at the end. So not only is there just the opportunity for one business or just a handful of businesses, but all the ancillary kind of logistical businesses that go with it to locate in our area. And, we get contacted almost every day by somebody who wants to buy some of these mushrooms from us of one variety or another. I really am of the opinion that there's no limit to how many either small or large businesses could be growing these varieties of mushrooms up here and have new ones still come in. Because we can always grow more of some that are in high demand. And there's so many different varieties of ones, both medicinally and gourmet for eating, that could be grown that it would take a very long time to saturate the entrepreneurship market in our area for that.
Well, one of the things about this podcast is we wanted to make sure that we were telling people who live in Central Appalachia, hey, there's some really good things going on here that you may not know about, but also for people who, and there is a big fascination with Appalachia for the people who don't live here or haven't had an opportunity to really visit it. And I think, honestly, that there would be maybe an element of surprise for people who aren't here to hear about this kind of initiative happening in Central Appalachia, Pikeville, Kentucky, at the University of Pikeville. Do you get that when you interact with peers from other places? Are they kind of surprised by what's going on?
We do, even within the state. People know of UPike within the state and the community, but we'll work with organizations, nonprofit and governmental in our area, other institutions. And when we mention all the things we're working on when it comes to mushrooms or for a few of the other ones I hope to mention, they don't know that we're doing it. And sometimes it's just we start building collaborative efforts with people in our state, all over our region. They're very interested in what we're doing. They just didn't know that the university was doing it.
Right.
Now, on the other hand, as it's become more commonly known that we are doing this, and things like Professor Byron Mead has put out podcasts and been doing some presentations on it, we have received calls from people all over the world who want to collaborate with us. So we currently on some of these have collaborators in Norway, the Netherlands, the Western United States, Australia, and a lot of those came with them cold calling us. They just saw something on the internet, they heard something that was going on, and they just pick up the phone or send off an email asking if they can somehow be a part of what we're doing. So both locally and abroad, as soon as people find out what we're doing in our area, it seems like there's a lot of doors that are open up. People are hungry for what we're doing. It's just a matter of us getting together and figuring out what are they doing, what do they need assistance with, how can we help them, and then start those collaborations together.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So other than mushrooms, which we could talk a lot about that, yes. I know, what are some of the other elements to what you're doing?
Well, one of them is, and they cross over a lot into mushrooms sometimes, we have another faculty, Dr. Kevin Wong, and he's actually developed a unique way of growing human therapeutic proteins in plants.
Okay.
And so a lot of times those are extracted from animal tissues or from other animal cell lines that can be expensive. We're talking about things that can be hundreds of thousands of dollars for a very small amount.
Okay, can you help me?
Yes.
What do you mean by human proteins, like collagen?
Oh, it could be.
Okay,
but,
that's the only one I could think of.
But for example, there are certain proteins that are used to treat kidney disease, heart disease, strokes, things that break down clots, even the weight loss drugs that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
Those can be grown
in plants?
In plants. And so
that's
you can
fascinating.
You can grow them faster. You can grow them with some less of the contamination concerns. You can grow it cheaper in some ways.
Would some people think more ethically? You're not
I think so.
harvesting from animals?
I think there are definitely some people probably who feel like they would rather have a non-animal source, especially if it was something that was actually harvested from the tissues of the animals.
Right.
However, growing them in plants is something that we had to figure out how to do, and we have a faculty member who's doing that and has had some really good success. He actually is working with Professor Mead as well, and looking at growing some in mushrooms.
Of course.
So maybe we'll have a mushroom you can take for weight loss in the future instead of having to take a shot.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting. That's really kind of fascinating. So as people are hearing this, if somebody else was sitting in on this conversation and they're thinking, I'd kind of like to get in on that, I'd like to start a business, what's the pathway?
Well, I think the best thing that they could do is probably reach out to either Professor Mead or I, or anybody at the institution, because everybody's familiar with what we're doing. So if somebody were to call, they were to meet with somebody in our administration, let's say, and say that they have a desire, they would pretty quickly connect them with us. And then what we do is just kind of talk about what they want to do. We would love to have entrepreneurs in the area that want to do some of this, because we are right now, and I'm working a lot with funders in our area, both organizations and those that get federal funds for entrepreneurship, and we're trying to build kind of this beginning environment, this first group of entrepreneurs who work on this from the perspective of, let's grow something, let's just take mushrooms, for example, and actually sell it. The institution ourselves, we grow a lot, but, most of what we're doing is we're doing different conditions. We're trying to figure out how to make a mushroom that grows better in a particular environment where it's colder, or that produces better color or better flavors or better nutrients. And so we don't just grow from the perspective of we're going to try to sell what we have at the highest amount. We'd love to have entrepreneurs in any end of this kind of life cycle of the businesses to come together so we can start working with them and really trying to determine how can we support them, what are their needs, what are their ideas, and how can we come together to build that here. So I would say, they can reach out to me, they can reach out to Professor Mead, they can reach out to anybody at the university. We have some people in entrepreneurship in our business school, like Jared Arnett. And if they were to reach out to him, I think he would pretty quickly bring the right people together as well. So really reach out to anybody at UPike, and we are anxious to bring people together and hear about their ideas, and hopefully there's a way that we can support them as they go forward.
So is that the ultimate goal of this initiative, to take it from the research as a beginning to potentially growing those entrepreneurs and creating these businesses at the end? Is that the timeline?
It is.
Okay.
So, we really talk about what we call translational research. So it's translating the science into business. And so that may be in a situation where if we were working with one of the greenhouse owners, for example, in the state, because we do have some research greenhouses, it may be that we're trying to help them develop a plant that's resistant to a particular disease that they have an issue with. That could be a great benefit to them, because if they were to start planting that, they may be able to increase their profits because they have less plants that are dying because of a particular disease that they have. However, in any way that we're doing it, what we want to be able to do is say, we have people who are experts in the science, and we want to pair those with experts in the entrepreneurship end so that we can take what we're learning, bring it to business, bring it to Central Appalachia, have it start here, and begin this process of developing a cycle where we bring more and more entrepreneurs together. And again, that hub kind of mentality where the university is maybe the center of that, and these businesses come around us. We work together, we work with each other, and really kind of push that entrepreneurship environment forward in our area.
I mean, that's a lofty goal, but it's certainly a noble one. It's one that needs to happen. And did this arise from just recognizing that need?
It did. In some ways, the growing the mushrooms in the mines, I think, is a good place where it started, with a USDA grant and some of the work that Professor Mead is doing. And it came recognizing that we have miles of mines that are no longer being used for their original purposes, but that have really good conditions for growing mushrooms. So we look at humidity and temperature in some of these, and airflow. A lot of those already exist in the mine, that if they were done in a building, you'd have to spend the money to do the heating and the cooling and the humidification. So the mines already exist in an environment where it's pretty well suited to grow these mushrooms in a way that some of the costs that you would have otherwise would be eliminated. So that is kind of where it started. We started doing some work with those mushrooms and those mines and looking at those. Right now, what we do to a large degree is we have sensors that are in those mines that measure all those things. And then we have facilities on campus and tents where we can basically replicate those environments. So that's kind of where it started. And then it's snowballed from there. So as we've begun there and people hear what we're doing, then there's other people who have ideas and people, I think we've taken measurements in various kinds of infrastructures. I think we've even taken measurements in like rick houses for bourbon barrels.
Oh, really?
To find out what those conditions look like.
Mm-hmm.
So there's really, that's kind of where it started.
Is there a similarity there, rick houses and mines?
Some yes and some no.
Okay.
And I think the good thing that we're able to do is there's so many variety of mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
What we can do to some degree is tell somebody based on their conditions what mushrooms may work well,
mm-hmm.
which ones probably wouldn't based on what the environments are. And then we can also, with time, we can help develop a particular strain of mushroom that would grow particularly well in that environment.
Oh, it's like reverse engineering almost, right? Like here's the environment, what will grow there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So let's talk a little bit about what you see for the future. Obviously, this big building is going to be built next year. That's going to be a wonderful big step up for what you're doing. But what do you see 4 and 5 years down the road?
If we were to look 5 years down the road, I mean, like I said, there is a phase 1 of the building and a phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we're already working on raising money for what would be phase 2. So more greenhouses and more business incubation space. And so if I look down the road 4 or 5 years from now, what I'd love to see is us to have 4 or 5 different small businesses that have begun growing mushrooms in our area. Either for the medicinal market or for the gourmet market. I'd like to see, I envision a small business where they are putting together all that growth. They grow in blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And so somebody has to put those together and then take the right variety of mushroom and put it into that bag to get it started
mm-hmm.
before it goes and is grown in a mine or any other structure. So a business like that, I would hope, I would envision that there's somebody who would come in to fill that need.
Mm-hmm.
And then, over at the REI, I would like in 5 years to have had a business or two who came in, who located in one of those incubation bays because the institution is right there next to them, and they can kind of capitalize on our knowledge and our experience to get their business off the ground and avoid some of the pitfalls that some people have when they just get started. I would like by 5 years, maybe the first 1 or 2 of those have moved out of our space because they've grown out of it.
The little birds get kicked out of the nest.
And bringing in the second round of entrepreneurs to be there for that purpose.
And is that kind of the measurement of success for you? If you see that happening, then you're going to we're doing it. This is what we need to do.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll be looking at the number of businesses in the area, the number of collaborators we have, certainly the investment that's coming in, either federal or private, from the funds to continue this effort. We'll also be looking at how many jobs are in our area. So, how many people are working in industries that we've helped incubate.
Mm-hmm.
And, there could be some that aren't related to anything we've talked about today. They might want to come out and be at our space and use, we have some space in there, hopefully for a commercial kitchen. Maybe they're making use of the commercial kitchen and that's primarily what they need. But if that's helped them go from where they were to another level of business and allow them to hire some people,
sure,
or take the next step in their own business, that would be great too. So I'd love to see 5 or 6 different individuals out at the REI, incubating businesses in one way or the other, and a handful that have already left and are well established in our area.
Yeah,
growing.
the fledglings that are flying.
Yes.
That's what you're looking for. So how many people are working in this initiative right now? How many? I mean, do you have grad students, employees? What's the mix?
What we have several faculty members,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a group that are kind of the core that are working very specifically with what we're doing. And then we have a lot that are kind of on the periphery who we know we're working with in the future, but we may just need to grow some mushrooms for them.
Mm-hmm.
We have somebody who's working at our institution on mushrooms that produce chemotherapeutic drugs.
Okay.
So they just would like us to grow them a lot of mushrooms so they can extract these compounds and send them to collaborators they have to be able to assess how well they do at combating cancer. So I would say that our core is Professor Mead and Professor Wong. And then we have, with that, probably 5 or 6 other faculty or entrepreneurs in our area that we're working very closely with. That's kind of growing daily because as new projects come on board, we have collaborators in our region that are partnering with us.
Mm-hmm.
But then we probably have in the neighborhood of 20 students, most of them undergraduates, and a couple people who were hired through the grants as employees as opposed to students.
Yeah.
And so we were looking at probably a group of 25 to 30 right now working on it.
It's exciting, though.
Every day we hope to grow more.
Yeah, I think it's extremely exciting. And again, it falls in with what we're talking about here at the podcast, which is Appalachia Works. This is working. It's already happening. The ball is rolling,
Yes.
and there's some big things on the horizon with the building. And then again, we're going to see those entrepreneurs slowly pop up like little mushrooms, right?
Absolutely. Yep. There's a few that are just ready to start right now. So
That's very exciting for us. Is there anything we haven't talked about? Because I feel like there may be some other elements of REI that I haven't thought about delving into. Is there anything else that we should talk about?
Oh, well, we do also have some work with hydroponics.
Okay.
So growing plants without soil.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a number of these greenhouses in our area. We have some in Somerset and outside of Moorhead and others are working in a soilless environment. We have some big multi-regional warehouses that are just plants growing in soilless environment. So we actually have a grant with Kentucky State University and the National Science Foundation to look at the environment of the roots when they don't have any soil around them, so we can learn what's most effective. So if you were to come over to campus right now and look through some of our classrooms, you'd see mushrooms growing, but you'd also see walls of plants and peppers and beans and other things because we are working at that. So that's another place where we look at potential collaborations. So these businesses that exist in the area that really need somebody to come in and look at some research, we're trying to do that as well. We're also looking at how we can use mushroom elements to clean water. So whether it's from mines that have something in there we want to clean, or with Kentucky State, it's actually aquaponics. So that's where they have fish in tanks,
Okay.
growing fish for food.
Yeah.
But they have wastewater from that. So we're looking at how we could use mushroom filters to filter out the contaminants, the stuff that's in that water so it can be reused within those systems. So
This is multi-layered.
it is multi-layered, yes.
And
every day there's a new layer to it, which makes it exciting.
And we just sit here and peel the onion and talk about it.
Yeah.
So interesting. Well, thank you so much. I've learned a whole lot, and I'm going to be very eager to see how this grows and continues. One of the things that I think is so impressive is the repurposing of one thing for another. So, you talked about repurposing not just mines, but buildings or tunnels or other spaces that aren't being used, and there's a way to use them now. So I think that's a big part of this.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have the infrastructure. Let's use it for something that would benefit the region and benefit our community.
Well, you're doing good work.
Thank you.
So Appalachia Works.
Absolutely. Appalachia Works. And, we have so many collaborators. I guess I just like to say thank you to everybody we're working with, certainly our funders and the people who have donated, the people behind the scenes who are working on this, and, all those entrepreneurs out there who have been in contact with us.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing what we can do and maybe coming back again sometime and
I was
talking about
going
the
to
next
say,
step.
we've got to do a follow-up. Let's give it a little bit of time and watch some things happen, and then we'll come back and report again.
Sounds great.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. It's been
Thank you.
a
I appreciate it.
pleasure